All right, everybody. So it is time for today's live stream. It's your boy, Coach Vic, certified land investor. Glad to be here with you. Today, as you can see from the title, I'm going to talk about negotiation and how you are going to be able to buy the properties you need for a lot less than you expect. And why is that important? Well, I don't know about you, but I like taking less risk. And what I mean by risk is if I buy a property that turns out to be a total piece of crap, but I've only paid $100 for it, it's not going to be hard to get my money back and then some. So let's say I paid $100 for a total, let's say it has radioactive waste, aliens, and I don't know, some unsavory people on it. Well, it's not going to be hard for me to sell that same property for $300, $500, $1,000, so on and so forth. So with the negotiation techniques I'm talking about, it will help you do that. So no matter how much you buy it for, you're going to be able to sell it. So even if you buy something that you probably should stay away from, you will be okay. What if you're talking to people who are, let's say, not reasonable when it comes to the property and their value? I got trips for you there. What if you're talking to someone who is, they understand they're unreasonable, but they have a lot of sentimental value? Got you covered there too. What if you don't know what to say or what to do, and every time you get on the phone with these people, you're umming and ahhing a lot, and you don't know what to say, as in how to move the conversation along, how to show that you are about that life and things of that nature? Again, I got you covered. Now, before I jump in, let me know if you can hear me or see me okay. I'm gonna jump into the Facebook group. As you guys know, I always do this from Zoom. So there are times when I don't have a good idea if you guys are paying attention or not, just for the fact that there's a big delay. There's a big delay. That's all I'm saying. So, comment below whether you're watching live or the replay. Show me if you guys are here and see me okay. All right, got a couple people watching. Cool, 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 cool. All right, so let's jump in. Let's jump in. I want to give you guys a story. Now, this is a cautionary tale that I definitely want to make sure that everybody who's watching and listening to this, again, live or in a replay, you don't make the same mistake, you learn from my mistake. This happened in 2018. Now, some of you already know from my story, if you gave me your email and I gave you that training, I gave you a little brief background of my story and all that. 2018, I stopped land investing. And one of the reasons why is because I didn't really see the possibility in this business. And I thought the work I had to do was too hard. Funny. Um, Spoiler alert, it wasn't too hard. I was just doing things improperly. And once I learned how to do things properly, it got much easier. Anyways, even though I thought the work was too hard, I got very overconfident. I was basically cocky. Like, oh, it's so easy to, get property and sell it. I've gotten good coaching. I think I get it now. And I bought some property in California. And I'm on the phone with this guy. Now, here's the thing. I was just starting to take this course on negotiation, on sales over the phone. And I was very excited to try out the new skills. So I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, Mr. Prospect, blah, 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 this and that. What if I were to tell you X, Y, and Z? And he's like, yeah, cool. I'm like, okay, I want to offer you $600 for your property. He goes, sold. Sold. What do you mean sold? But I didn't say it out loud. I'm like, yeah, my training must be working. So I'm selling the property, getting a lot of interest in it. And the buyer that I'm selling to actually wants to use a title company and a real estate agent and this and that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Just buy the damn property. Turns out I owed about $2,000 in taxes on that lot. Didn't know. Now, I didn't check. I didn't ask. I didn't do anything I was supposed to do. And because of that, I ended up losing a little bit of money on the deal. The funny thing is, I still could have salvaged that deal if I would have just offered an extra like $300. If I would have just added like $300 to the offer price, I would have been fine. But because I didn't pay attention, I didn't negotiate with the skills I'm about to show you right now. I lost some money, and that was that was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And I was like, I don't want to do this no more. And all because of my own hubris and my own foolishness that I quit. Things are different now, as you can see. Things are much better now. I have a better game plan. I got a better strategy, and I'm going to go over that. So today, what I'm going to share with you is number one, what do you say? What do you ask? What are you looking for? How are these conversations supposed to be conducted? Not to mention, what do you do when you have a difficult owner, right? Either they are being totally unreasonable about the value of the lot, or they understand the value, but they're sentimental about it. I'm going to let you know. So This all came about from a lady I talked to yesterday. She talked my ear off a bit, and I told this to my land investing group. I gave them the full details, and I won't, I don't have the time to share everything here. But when I don't apply these things, it's very easy to get down in the dumps. Like, oh my God, did I get into an area that's not good, or it used to be good, it's no longer good? The very next call I had, somebody's like, oh yeah, I'll sell to you. Yeah, no, this sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. Let me do my end, and you can do your end, and we're going. So these techniques work, and they work well if you let them work for you. So you just did your offers. Maybe you're texting folks. Maybe you did a mailer. And next thing you know, somebody's like, hey, yeah, I do want to sell. What do you do before you get on the phone? Pop quiz. Go ahead, put in the comments below. Whether you're watching live or the replay, let me know. What do you do? They call you, they're saying, I want to sell, right? They left a voicemail on your machine, and you're listening to it. And you're like, okay, gotta call this person back. Before you call this person back, what do you do? I will tell you. First thing you got to do, write this down. It's very important. One, look up the property on the county's assessor site. Hopefully, you can have a little image of what the property looks like, the little boundaries and things of that nature. And then, hopefully, if depending on the site, it all depends, you can take that to Google Maps, because what you see on the assessor site versus what you see on Google Maps are usually two different things. The assessor site's image of like the satellite view is usually pretty old, 10 years old, 12 years old, etc. Google Maps, they update it like almost every year. So you're going to see something pretty different between the two. And depending on the area, Google Maps also may show you the boundaries of the lot. Just depends. Now, what you're looking for are just a general topography of the land. Is it hilly? Is it rocky? Is it covered in trees? Is there a bunch of garbage on it? An old trailer? Is it close to something cool like a lake? Or is it in the middle of nowhere? Is it landlocked? Is it, technically not landlocked, but it's hard for a person looking to check out the property when you're selling it to find the exact lot? These are all things you're looking for just to get a general idea. Next, make sure you go and check out how much taxes do they owe. Because if you don't know that, you're going to be negotiating against yourself. And here's how. Let's say you have in mind that you're going to, like, hey, I offered this guy between 2,000 and 3,000 bucks. I'm comfortable with that offer. And you're like, okay, great. And as you're talking, that's the price you had in mind. You close the deal, everything's great. You're checking things out, doing your due diligence, and you find out they owe like $6,000 worth of taxes. In general, that's no longer a deal that you probably should do. But now you're already committed to this person. Now there's nothing stopping you from going back like, hey, you know what? I just saw you owe us a bunch of taxes. But now you just wasted your time. You wasted their time. It's not a good feeling to have. And who knows? You could have got the lot for free if you would have known that ahead of time. So again, check their tax situation. Also see, hey, is this property an HOA or not? Now I'm telling my group how to find HOAs because it's not straightforward. It's not like you can go to the county and be like, hey, is this an HOA or not? There's techniques that you can do. My land investing group, they're learning those techniques right now. It's going to save them time and money. But in general, just see if you can find out it's an HOA. Maybe you have to ask the seller itself, but whatever. Also, see anything else that may be a red flag or something that's exciting. Like, is there a house next to the lot? If it is, how close to the lot? Is there a paved road or not? Things like that. Just general lay of the land. Once you have this information, now you are ready to call because you know what you should have in mind. Now, with this info, you can pick out a offer. So let's say originally you were like, hey, I'm just going to offer between 2,000 and 3,000. You see all these different things. You know what? Maybe I'll just offer 1,500 now from all that I saw, the tax situation and this and that. But now you're prepared. You have your basically your top limit. Now there's going to be more ways to knock down the price, but you already went from 2,000 to 3,000 to 1,500 just from a cursory look of the lot. Now, moving on. You are now ready to negotiate. First thing you do when you're actually on the phone, you got to make sure they actually want to sell. First thing, I have to take a side because sometimes I even keep myself caught up in that, where I'm like, hey, I'm excited. This person wants to sell. I just see nothing but dollar signs in my eyes. But then I realize as I'm talking to them, like, this person is just kicking the tires, meaning they're kind of seeing what they can get for it. If I wasn't going to offer them a chest of gold and like the Mona Lisa painting, they weren't going to sell. So I'm wasting my time. So the first thing I do is like, hey, Mr. Prospect or Mrs. Prospect, hey, this is Victor. I sent you that postcard about the land in, any county USA. And like, oh, hey, good to talk to you. I'm like, yeah. So just want to make sure if the price range that I put on that card, does it work for you? And if they say, oh, no, 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 then I'm like, okay, well, thank you for your time. Goodbye. I'm done. Sometimes, depending on the area, depending on what's going on, I will ask, like, so what price are you looking for? And if it's still within reason, I keep going. So for example, if I was looking to pay 2 to 3,000, on the phone, I'm like thinking, okay, maybe 1,500 from what I just saw in my cursory research, and they're saying, oh, I want 15,000. I give them the middle finger and I walk away. I mean, I don't really do that. I'm nice, but in my mind, I'm like, you're high on crack cocaine. Get out of my face. You're wasting my time. Goodbye. However, if I say, yeah, I'm looking to get 15,000 before I'll tell them this, or 1,500, and they're like, oh, well, I was looking to get about 3,000 for the lot. Then I'm like, or excuse me, 4,000, because that's over the 2 to 3,000 range. I'm like, okay, it's not totally unreasonable. Let's see what I can do here. Let's see what I can do here. So then it's game on. All right. So far, is this making sense? Is this something that you guys can see yourselves getting into? Let me know again, whether you're watching live or you're watching a replay, let me know, because I got to make sure that this stuff is actually sticking for you, because I don't want people in the group just watching. I want people doing. I want to see what's going on with you guys. So let me know if this is working for you, if this is valuable for you, if you want me to keep going. All right, cool. Moving on, moving on. So the price range works for them, or we're kind of within the same ballpark. I keep going. So now this is the part that is a little different than what you expect. Most people expect negotiations to be like the FBI negotiator trying to get a hostage out of like the bad guy's clutches. It's not really like that. In reality, you're just putting on your investor hat and making sure that this investment's a good one. Because let's be real, when you send out an offer letter, you don't know exactly what properties you're going to really truly want. You're like, hey, look, I like this whole area. I did my research. I know what price I should pay for the size, things of that nature. I'm gonna put out a bunch of offers out there, and let's see who actually wants to sell. So when things are coming back to you, you're like, okay, this person wants to sell and that person wants to sell, and then you can start looking deeper. But you still don't know much until you start to talk to them. Now, here's something else that's very important. I think you should write this down. It's not just being an investor of making sure you're going to, get yourself into something that you know is going to sell and things of that nature, but you're also planting the seed of doubt in these people's minds. Most people you talk to, they don't really value the land that much. If they do, they don't think it's worth much. They also don't want it no more for various reasons. I talked about this many times before. So you want to make sure that stays there. Now, what happens is when people say, oh, somebody wants to buy from me. Oh, okay, yeah. I thought this land was worthless. I didn't know anybody would want it. Great. And now they start seeing how much they can get out of you. So you want to plant that seed of doubt. So this is what I do. Knowing what I know from that precursory research, I actually start to think, okay, boom, that $1,500 is where I arrived. That's my 100%. Everything looks great. Other than that, that's the price I'll pay. I'm going to start asking questions and seeing if I can find anything else wrong with the property that's going to make me drop that price even lower. So what type of questions am I asking? Well, I'm glad you asked. First, I'm asking things like, hey, is your lot full of trees or is it cleared? It's a big deal because it costs money to get a lot cleared. And if a lot is cleared, you're going to get a lot more interest when it's time for you to sell. I mean, trees won't necessarily stop a sale. It just makes things that much more difficult because it's just one more thing that the buyer from you is going to have to do. Next, I ask, hey, do you know about the situation, how to get water or power, or how are you going to handle sewage? Is it a septic tank? Is it hooked up to the city? What's going on? Is water a well or that, provided by a water company? Electricity. Do I have to do something off grid or can I get hooked up to the grid? You ask those questions. Now, many times they don't know. People just don't know these answers. So what do? You just assume that you can't. Because sure, maybe you can, maybe you know this area, maybe you don't, but assume that you can't get things and things are going to be harder than you expect. So if they say, yeah, I don't know, or yeah, no, it doesn't have any water, it's never been developed, things of that nature, you kind of deduct some price from your offer or some points, however you want to look at it. I'll also ask things about, so what do you know about the road to get to the property? Is there a road? Is it paved? Is it dirt? Is there, if the property is landlocked, meaning there is no legal way to access the property because there's like no county road or anything like that? Is there an easement? If it's landlocked, do I want to, I'm thinking, do I want to keep that? If I'm thinking about, okay, there's no, it's not landlocked, technically there is a way to get to the property, but is it easily visible? So if I'm sending someone to check it out, can they actually easily find the lot or not? Now, again, this is why you have to look at the Google Maps versus the county site. The county site may say, oh, yeah, this is a road here. And sure, maybe it was a road 20 years ago, but now it's grown over. There's trees everywhere. So an individual who doesn't know that particular area, they won't be able to find a lot easily because they just see nothing but trees and grass and not a road. So you find that out. Now, again, most people who own these properties, they don't know the answer to this. Now, I'm not saying that you got to like beat them over the head with this, but it's like, okay, I'll say, let me take a quick peek. Oh yeah, it looks like that the road is no longer there. It's hidden. It's covered. This and that. Blah blah blah. And again, you're not saying out loud, oh, I'm deducting points. I'm deducting money from the offer. You're just making a mental note. Like, okay, got it. Not a problem. Because you don't want them to think that you're not going to buy, but at the same time, you don't want them thinking that you're super excited either. Like, okay, all right, no road. Okay, we can deal with that. You also find out, hey, what do you know about building restrictions? Like, what can I do with this property? You know, again, you're going to find this out when you do your due diligence, but they may know something. And oftentimes, the people who own the property, they get different letters and communication from the county, from neighbors, from the HOA, if it's part of an HOA, that give them idea of what they can and can't do with the property. So you find out. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, you can do this, you can't do that. We've only used it with our trailer, et cetera, et cetera. And you're like, okay, good to know. You find out if there is an HOA. Because again, as I said earlier, it's not always easy to find out that information out. It's not like you just go to the county like, hey, where are the HOAs at? You have to search. Sometimes they do know this, like, oh yeah, it's HOA and we're all current with dues. That's something really good to hear, right? So you might even add a couple dollars to that because it's less of a headache, or maybe you just don't touch the offer price after that. Find out like, hey, how are the neighbors? As in, are they weird? Like if I go check out the property, they're gonna give me a hard time. Things like that. How if are they going to be, do they make the area feel kind of sketchy? Am I in a hood or what's going on? You find out all this stuff, and I'm sure there's more questions that you can think of right now. In fact, I would love to hear some of the questions that you guys may have that's coming through your mind right now that's going to help you knock down the actual price. Think of it, like, go ahead and put in the comments, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching a replay, what are other questions that you can come up with right now that will help you understand more about the property, but at the same time, plant that seed of doubt in the owner's mind of, damn, what I have isn't as expensive as I thought, or isn't as worth as much as I thought. Give me a couple seconds. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going as you guys write that down. All right. So at the end, you'll get through all your questions. How many of you have? This conversation probably take 5 minutes, maybe 10, and you kind of add up your score. And maybe you took off $100 for a couple of questions, or maybe you took off 1,000, or you found out something, like this isn't a good investment at all. Either way, you're like, all right, well, what I've heard, it sounds like I can offer you this, whatever it is. So let's say I went from 1,500 to 1,300. So the offer on the postcard said 200 to 3,000 or 2,000 to 3,000. Before I got on the phone, I had arrived at 1,500 just from looking at the topography, and maybe a couple of the answers told me, you know what, if I get this for 13, I think I should be okay. Once you present them with the offer, you just be quiet. Just wait. They may be like, well, I was hoping to get more than that. Like, yeah, I understand. But the reason why I'm offering this is because of this. And you explain why. Like, well, there's no road. There's no this. There's no that. To get those things, I'm going to have to pay a little bit more. Sometimes you can be honest. Like, look, I bought another lot on, a couple, not too far away. And I only paid this much and it had a little bit more going for it. It's going to be hard for me to pay more than what I paid for that lot for this one. Sometimes, you just gotta, keep it real. But look, man, like I'm going to sell this lot and it's going to be hard to sell. I can't buy it for the price you want. I can't make a bad business decision because you made a bad business decision years ago. Times like that is, when it gets tough for them, they got to sit with it. They may say, oh, I got to think about it, talk to my wife. I'm like, okay, cool. Now, depending on how great the lot is would dictate if I try to keep them on the phone or not. If the lot's not that great, or is it like a ton of taxes owed or a ton of HOA fees, I let them go. I'm like, okay, yeah, talk to your wife, talk to your husband, do whatever you got to do. Because I know many cases they're not going to sell at that point. They're disappointed they didn't get what they thought they're going to get, but they realize the things that I brought up is right. Now, maybe some other newbie investor might go out there and offer them a bunch of money, but now they're going to have a lot that's going to be hard for them to make money on, and they're going to be sitting on dead inventory. I feel bad for them. That happens when you get too excited about property. So here's the thing. You have a price, they may accept, they may not accept. One thing that you can do before, like after you give the offer and they're like, I don't know, I'm thinking of getting more. I tell them, it's like, look, the way I do business, I move very quickly. I pay you up front. I do this, I do that. I make it really simple for you. I do all the work, so I understand it's not the price you wanted, but I'm going to make it extremely easy for you to get paid. And sometimes that's what tips the scales. Sometimes people are ready to sell. I don't have to say anything. They're like, yeah, no, that price rate works. Like, oh, I see that you have this, I have that. I can only offer this. Like, oh, that's fine. I just want this off my hands. Great. No need to go any further. No need to negotiate. Accept the deal. Move on. So here's the thing. You got to know when to walk away. When do you walk away? Well, when you know they really ain't about that life. When they're really trying to sell. They want millions of dollars for the property. It ain't worth millions of dollars. When they see that on Zillow they can sell a lot for, let's say $10,000, or you see that from talking to them. This is another thing to ask about, like, how did you get to get the property yourself? Did you buy it or did you inherit it? If it's inheritance, it's always going to be some kind of issue on getting the transfer done. Not that it's hard, it's more work. When they bought it, it's usually pretty simple. So you find out that they inherited the property and you're like, okay, well, yeah, I see that, Mr. Smith is on record and you're not Mr. Smith. How do we show proof that you're the owner, right? Do you have that paperwork that I can, use to submit with the deed or what? And if it's a pain in the ass, you know what? I'm like, shit, I don't know if I can do this. Or I don't know if I want to do this because this is going to take me too much time and effort. And, for a couple grand, it's not worth it for me. So you walk away. There's a couple different reasons why you walk away, but those are a few. And sometimes it's just in your gut, like this person doesn't seem like on the up and up. I'm just going to walk away. And the reason why you can do that, there's going to be tons and tons of other deals coming your way. Don't get so caught up on one. Even if it seems like a fat, juicy deal, I guarantee you another fat, juicy deal is on its way. Do not get caught up on just one. Learn to walk away. Now, one last thing I'm going to get into before I end this. The people who overvalue their property, how do I get them to actually become logical? I say one thing. I'm like, hey, well, okay, you want 10,000. Have you had an appraisal done on your property? Most times they say no. Have you done a survey on your property? Again, most times they say no. It's like, so where did you come up with that price? Most people, they don't actually look on Zillow or realtor.com or Craigslist or whatever. They think they understand what the price of the property should be worth because they heard rumors like, oh, well, there's businesses coming and I think somebody's building something. They hear these lies or these rumors and they think it's true. So I'll call them out. I'm like, well, where'd you hear that? Is it actually true? Do they want your lot or they want lots that are across town? Two different things. Planting that seed of doubt. I also ask, hey, you ever tried to sell this property before? How'd that go? Whether they went with the realtor or they tried to sell by owner, most times it doesn't go well for people because realtors don't work very hard for vacant land because they don't get much of a commission. And people who try to sell by owner, they don't know what they're doing. So it's just too much work. So you kind of remind them of that. Most people don't like selling. That's why your offer is also so appealing. It's like, good, I can get rid of this and I don't got to do any work. I love it. So when you ask those types of questions, those who are in la land, kind of brings them back down to earth. Now, what do you do about people who are very sentimental about the property? Meaning, well, their grandpappy passed it on to them. They used to go down to the property every summer 30, 40, 50 years ago. Well, I asked them this, well, why are you considering selling? And they'll remind themselves like, oh, that's right. Well, I'm tired of paying the taxes. Well, I've never used a lot anymore and I figure someone else can use it, stuff like that. I'll ask them, what have you done with the lot recently? And they'll say nothing. I haven't seen it in years. I don't even know what's still on it right now. I'll ask them about like, well, you said you wanted your kids to have it. Do they want it? Like, no, unfortunately, they don't want it. And I'm not going to ask like an asshole way. I'm going to be very gentle with it because I understand it is sentimental and it is like letting go of like a family member. So I just try to gently remind, like, look, I'm going to pay you for something that you don't use anymore, that you don't want. The memories are not going to go away. It's just the burden of having that property and paying those taxes and having that on your mind. I'm taking that from you. But those memories you're going to keep, you know? So that usually helps a lot. With that said, normally when I go through these steps, I always get the price range that I want. I never have a deal where I'm like, I can't make any money. I've learned from that one mistake I made without checking things out that, so I'm always doing things the right way now. And this made things streamlined for me, this process, this flow. So look, we're about out of time. There's a lot more to this, obviously, there's a lot more nuance. And normally when I'm teaching the guys in the land investing group I have, you know, I'm able to give a lot more detail. And then when they're in the middle of a negotiation, I'm able to help them out live. So it's very easy for them to kind of understand what needs to happen, get confident on the phone, this and that. So I can't do that for you guys, but what I do have is this little, a nice one-page PDF, nice little diagram that I created that kind of helps remember the flow that I'm talking about. And it talks about, I highlight some of these things. So if you want that PDF, you want that in the comments, no matter where you're watching this, just say, hey, Coach Vic, hook me up. I'll send you a PM. I'll make sure that you talk and I can give you the things that you need, because let's be honest, some people don't need the negotiation thing. If you haven't sit down any offers, why would I send you a negotiation PDF, right? Let's make sure you start sending out offers. Let's get people calling you up on the phone. Let's get people actually interested in stuff. Let me hear what you're trying, because you may not need a whole flow. You just may need one little tweak or an adjustment that I can help you with. So that's what I always do. I PM you, make sure that I'm giving you something that's really going to help you, not just giving you a bunch of more crap that you're not going to use, and make sure you're good. So again, if you feel like, look, every time you're on the phone, you're not getting the deals you want, or you're paying more than you want to, or you're just starting to realize you're leaving a lot of money on the table, or you're tired of getting these surprises of, holy shit, I didn't think this land was that, I thought this land was cool, but now that I look deeper, it sucks. Let me know. I can help. If you really want that mentorship and you want to join a group of other investors who are living it, doing it, being it, learning it live, let me know. I can see the group is something that works for you too. I'm very proud of the group. Had talked about Mark last week and his first deal and his first check. That's almost $5,000. You know how it changed him and his life and his family's life, or him and his girlfriend's life. I love that. I want other people to feel that as well. I want to help people get out of their comfort zone and push them to be the person they can be. You may not be super passionate about land, but there is something you're passionate about. And I promise you, the land thing can help you do those things with a lot more time and a lot less stress. Because if you have your bills paid every month and you have a bunch of surplus money, I'm not saying life will be perfect, but I guarantee you, and I'm living proof with this, it's much easier. And there's so much land out in this great country of ours. There's no way I can take all of it myself. I just can't. I would love to, but I can't. So there's a lot of room for everybody. And I would love to teach people this stuff because I know what it's done for me and I know what it can do for other people who want it bad enough. But with that said, that's all the time we got today. I really appreciate you guys listening. If you guys ask questions and I didn't see it, my apologies. I will get to them. I will answer your comments if you had any. Other than that, I hope you guys are having a good one. Make sure you enjoying this summer weather, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.